is just fantastic.
This is going to sound a bit strange, and I do apologise. Turns out my feeling a bit funk, as it were, at the end of January was actually me being ill, but not noticing I was ill, but run down, which has compromised my voice. Now, I'm certain many of you are going to be worried and say, Meg, rest up, you'll be fine, take a few days off. I feel fine now. My voice, however, has yet to catch up, but I want to make this video because it is right to provide certain key updates to what we discussed on Monday. Before that though, later today on the Moistski Live channel, it will be linked in the pinned comment, is going to be a whiskey stream with Fernandez and I. So yes, the aforementioned compromised voice will be there, right? Okay, if you're interested in some discussion concerning delectable nectars of the whiskey variety, join us, we'd greatly appreciate it. I am, yes, going to have him and his nasally voice carry bloody stream. So today the focus will be two separate key instances that need to be discussed concerning Mamamax. One is somebody being a massive dickhead for reaction to test the system because bait, but that'll be the last thing we cover. The other is a statement that was shared by many creators that I think is very important. Firstly, courtesy of Nick Diorio. Max is desperate to keep the Patreon money coming in. I don't believe for a moment that he had plans to get a job. This is manipulation. Feel bad for me garbage. Do not fall for it. Striker Films on Patreon put out a post. Despite the recent defamation campaign, your support has been invaluable. Unfortunately, our operation here has been severely crippled, so I'm currently seeking local employment, but I remain committed to our film projects in my free time. So in his Tobin Bell rip-off John Kramer voice, do expect him to say, I want to play a game and would you like fries with that? Here are the current plans. We'll proceed with the documentary on Camden Gerard Davis, the vampire god cult guy, after law enforcement has concluded their investigation. An extremely detailed response video, Silence All Survivors, is in the works, revealing certain influencers' actions against us and the survivors we're supporting. Given the sheer volume of attacks, finalizing this project may take months. If there are specific concerns you want addressed, please mention them in the comments. Now, there are a number of problems with this paragraph or point alone. Firstly, silence all survivors. No one is silencing any of the victims of Camden Gerard Davis. We are saying you failed the survivors of Camden Gerard Davis. We are saying you turned it into a pantomime. You turned it into a Macy Day parade. You turned it into a showcase for your own amusement to test out new editing styles, to sensationalize like a crap journalist, or just as they're normally known, a journalist, for somebody that tried to make himself look like a wannabe tough guy, highlighting key, very important issues and claims against Camden Gerard Davis. No one wants to silence the survivors. We wanted it to go straight to law enforcement when the evidence was collected, or for you to put everything out there while working with law enforcement. One of the biggest problems I have with the kind of content you produce, and it's the same with many others in this genre, is that this is ongoing. As you yourself have said in the very first part, we will proceed with the documentary after law enforcement has concluded their investigation. Yet you have been teasing this for months, half a year in fact, which means you've already been blasting somebody with allegations. It is unprofessional because you want to listen and believe. We're not silencing the survivors. We want due process to be respected. It is vitally important for all discourse that be maintained. The sheer volume of attacks you reference in your second point, they're not attacks, it's criticisms. And you mentioned influencers' actions against you. Their actions against you were to highlight how crappy you've handled this. And it may take you months, but the reason you've highlighted that this project would take months is because you are waiting for it to all die down. Not for the police to finish their investigation. No, you are waiting for it to die down so you can drop the video when less people will be interested in the subject. Because right now, if you dropped any response video now, it would be universally panned. You are waiting because for some odd reason you now understand optics, which I think shows just how inept you actually are. You are making $15,000 a month on Patreon. I make like $200 a month on Patreon, okay? And I get by. You make 15 grand a month. and you have to go and get a 9 to 5. But it's all the fault of the influencers criticizing you for your failings. It seems our detractors will continue to drown out our voices with more falsehoods and accusations until we give up, but the truth soon emerges over the horizon. Stay alert and open-minded until you finally see the other side of this story. Theoretically, I could engage in the same manipulative strategies, align with their adversaries, exploit every rumour and accusation ever made about them, orchestrate gossip among our peers to alienate them, and even platform their most ex-partners and past enemies. However, I refuse to engage in such tactics, choosing instead to present facts and let you judge them based on their own merits. Thank you again for believing in us. We will not be silenced. Now, there are many points here that need to be addressed. The detractors are not drowning out your voice. They're pointing out that every time you've had a chance to speak, you have chosen the worst possible voice to use and combination of words. The falsehoods and allegations, or accusations as you yourself reference them as, are accusations at your failings, not any of the victims, although there are some queries concerning Spencer, but that will happen in all walks of life. It is not trying to silence somebody, because everyone has given those voices 100% of the time. Take Nick Diorio's recent conversation that he uploaded the full conversation of. He didn't edit it. He put the whole thing there. Why? So everyone could hear everything Spencer and you had to say, and then how you fumbled quite a bit of your responses to Muta and Nick. You said theoretically you could engage with the same manipulative strategies. I assume you want to use some buzzwords here. Allow me to insert a few that you might be familiar with. Gaslighting, ad homs, strawmans, fallacies, perhaps an appeal to authority, which is a fallacy. You like to do that a lot, by the way. You also like to try and guilt shame people into acting, a tactic which, as you now know, is not acceptable. We do not, in the online space, consider that a worthwhile tactic to achieve a goal of dealing with those who would otherwise seek to harm children in any form. But you are harboring, acting under the delusion that the online space doesn't care about the children, or that because we don't talk about it enough, that is an indicator of our endorsement of the actions of people you claim to be dealing with in the form of Camden Gerard Davis. You mentioned the exploiting rumour and accusation. This is your way of saying, basically, anyone who's made a video commenting on this situation is exploiting rumour and accusation for monetary gain. It's YouTube. Much of the content in commentary gets demonetized. You know that. You're not so stupid as to think otherwise, but you think it anyway. The orchestrating gossip part, though, there's a point there, because it does tie in, consider it foreshadowing, to something else we'll get to soon. Now, you refuse to engage in such tactics, which is interesting to me, because while you may not in your mind engage in any of these tactics you call out others for, you use the same tactics when it suits you, and you've justified it in phone calls and interviews with Nick Diorio and Muta. You justified it as a means to an end, so that those that could be saved should be saved in your mind, which makes you look like you suffer from some kind of white savior complex. There's another complex involved in this. Oddly enough, it's the very acronym you like to use. If anyone's seen his Twitter, you'll know exactly which one that is. And if my voice wasn't compromised, I'd be doing some kind of church-like harmony, choir voice, you know? If you think this is bad, by the way, audio-wise, you should have seen me last night at Beast in Black, Glory Hammer and Brothers of Metal. I was trying to sing, I promise I was. It was cancer, but I had a great time anyway. Now, this whole thing is your way of pointing out that you cannot continue, so you are going to get a job. To be honest, I don't care how much you make on Patreon, I don't care how much you make on YouTube. I always believe you should have a job away from this. Even I do. I have been self-employed since 2014, 10 years nearly at this point. Something which I am very proud of. Full-time YouTuber since 2018, but I've still maintained all my work from before then as a cleaner. That seems a bit meh, who cares? But I think it's fundamentally important to have a steady income always. And my steady income ensures that my bills are paid. This is vitally important. If yours aren't, or if you are compromised even though you make more a year than I do, as a full-time creator obviously doing the haram thing of, what's it here you said? Exploiting every rumour and accusation. Yes, that's what I do for a living. I exploit rumour and accusation because commentary. Although at least when I do crime stuff, it's resolved first. Sausage. You still make a phenomenal amount of money, and I don't know how you do so much and tank so hard. It is impressive to me that you could do that and fail so badly. On Twitter, NightDocs have posted your statements, yeah, and included some important points, right? And I want to show this. Highlighted, currently seeking local employment. Reply, what could you possibly be qualified to do? Ever since you got yourself discharged from the military, what have you even done? And I'd love to be a fly on the wall when they ask you to explain the gap in your employment history. The survivors we're supporting highlighted next. Who do you even have left? Seriously, is there anyone besides Spencer? Theoretically, I could engage in these same manipulative strategies, align with the adversaries, exploit every rumor and accusation ever made about them, orchestrate group among our peers to alienate them, and even platform the most, that word, ex-partners. This one gets lengthy, but we're going to go through it. Theoretically, this could be a massive projection where you list the very specific things you did to me, and unlike the testimonies you claim are evidence, I not only qualify what I said as what I was told, and we have countless corroborations coming in. You may have lived rent-free in my house, but it's clear I'm living rent-free in your head, and the reason it scares you is because it should. You may be dangerous, but now only to people who give you the time of day, which is no one. Max, if you actually gave a damn about these survivors, you would recognize that even if you were right, your reputation is so tarnished, so much, that you can no longer be a messenger. Take whatever dignity you have left and bow out as gracefully as you can. Others have already taken over, and the only reason you could have continued is to massage your insatiable ego. This is a reference to Muta directly stepping in to help one of the alleged victims of Vampire God Cult Guy, because you failed her. Continuing, how come you have 0 exes that you parted ways with amicably? What's more like, every single person you've ever dated, that word you, or that word, flowed from a different direction? Please, find me an ex-girlfriend of yours who actually knew you and can speak positively for your character. I hope you have noticed the pattern in your life, that you stay in an area only until it reaches the point where people figure out your BS, so you skip town and start fresh somewhere else. Normal people just don't have enemies, Max. I have people I disagree with, but enemies? I know you think you're Batman, but you're just a scared little boy who literally wears lifts in his sneakers to make his ass look rounder. You antisocial cringe F. Also, while we wait for the months it will take for you to fabricate a response, rest assured there is an absolute nuke next to your face just waiting to detonate. She found us, Max. It's effing over. I'll bring marshmallows. Anyway, I'm hitting the beach. Just be glad your ChatGPT lawyer has a $0 retainer. NightDocs has given the most brutal response, and I love it. So to move on from that, we need to talk about Joshua Putman. I know this name, I've seen it everywhere. It's relevant to the last video, because the last video we at the end discussed privacy claims. This is the part where I offer a correction and retraction, because we now know for certain Mamamax did not file any privacy complaints. It was instead done by Joshua Putman, who admitting to being the one to file the complaints to multiple commentary YouTubers. He pretended to be Mamamax and sent them to YouTube to shitster as an experiment. Lyrics included all the screenshots, which showed a whole slew of privacy complaints being received. This was confirmed by Joshua Putman because of DMs with Lyrics, saying, I just wanted to test YouTube's privacy complaint to see how bad it is. It's really bad in my conclusion, because none of the times did they ask me for proof, and there was no option for proof. I only seen 2 people that know how this truly works. The first person was some guy named William, the other was the person that was the actual Joshua person. The only reason Joshua knows is because I filed privacy complaints towards videos people made about him when Joshua got his account hacked to make him look guilty while doing the same thing while knowing it won't get taken down. I see that's it oversteps boundaries. Reply, also if you're not Joshua, do you mind telling me who you are? Reply, yeah I will, and some other conversation like that. So it's not really Joshua either. The Twitter account Joshua Putman did reply to Lyrics by saying, I apologize for doing this, and there's some that I haven't hit with a privacy complaint yet. I noticed Doc on the radio talking about how he didn't get hit with a privacy complaint, so I decided to change that. I also saw Xylee talk to Chris the Narc about how C didn't. I assume that's what it meant. She did. Continuing get a privacy complaint, so I decided to file a complaint towards her videos about Mamamax. The Joshua Putman Twitter account put out a lengthy thread saying, I filed 5 privacy complaints against Xylee, I filed 1 complaint against Ordinary Gamers, I filed 1 against Lyrics, 4 against Flatly Gaming, 1 against Moist Critical. I filed 1 against Some Ordinary Podcast, and essentially this continues with everyone who had been hit, and the video's linked to show just how far this went. And it is linked by them. Almost any creator that has done a video on the Mamamax situation got hit, and those that got hit hard. There are of course vitally important points and criticisms, valid ones, against the privacy complaint system. I received many from a YouTuber called Nada whenever I made content on them because they were desperate for the views. It didn't end with anything positive for them. If anything, it just gave me free content. And while we can certainly rail on the privacy complaint system for not really accomplishing anything, it is right to point out that this crappy behaviour has to be what it is, and called out as such. Crappy behaviour that effectively distracts from the main problem. The person who did this should be ashamed of themselves. I agree the problem of the privacy system needs to be addressed by YouTube 100%, but you gave Mamamax free ammunition to act as a deflection, which if they had an IQ over 2, they might have been able to do to some modicum of success. But mercifully, Mamamax does not possess the additional IQ point to be able to do it. With what has been discussed today, I'd love to know what you all think. Do let me know in the comments down below. My voice is going to take a few days to recover, but I'm still going to be active. It doesn't hurt my voice, just to be clear. I'm just having to be a bit more considerate in what I say. And if you are interested in the whiskey stream later today, please swing by. We'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.